In a studio that's in a basement comes the epic story of how two friends changed the future of the movie podcast game forever. The reviews are in. Boys Life magazine gives the High Side podcast 4.5 acorns. The Daily Bugle says, these guys are super legit. And Pope Francis declares the podcast as life-affirming. From the kid who tried to get smart with David Spade and got fucking old.
You're still out. You're still back.
And the guy who can name all four Baldwin brothers.
Alec, William, Daniel, and the baby boy, Stephen.
Live from the studio of his parents' basement. The Have You Seen It podcast.
Welcome back to the Have You Seen It podcast. My name is Mason Knight, and sitting across from me is the one and only Cash Kraus. Cash, how you doing?
Oh, I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm
we're here.
What else can you say in this time that we live in?
I know, man. For people who don't know, literally the whole west coast of the United States is on fire.
Yes.
There are fires very close to us as well.
Yes, the smoke is
everywhere
surrounding us.
Yeah, literally
fires coming in from all sides.
Yeah,
encircling us.
At this point, we're lucky to be alive.
We got the big hollow fire. It's always given the scariest names too.
Yeah, I think it is called the Big Hollow.
It is called
or
the Big Hollow.
Like that.
The Big Hollow fire.
Terrifying.
There's
Mortifying.
a Fruit Valley fire going on right now in Vancouver.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It is.
I'm starting to think we should have listened to that little fucking Swedish girl that was bitching about the climate change early on in the year.
Oh, yeah, that
was she
one.
Swedish or
I don't
Irish?
I don't know.
Icelandic?
I can literally recite you verbatim her famous speech. Do you want to hear it?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
But you can go back and watch it. I mean, if you do, I'm sure it's on YouTube. But yeah, shit's going down right now, man. It's I've never seen it like this. I mean, I've lived here 26 years. And I've never had a summer.
Well, and it's so many fires all at once too. It's
And
literally like
that,
all
but we
of them
had
just started
a
the same day.
windstorm. We had a windstorm
Giant
early on
windstorm,
that
yeah.
knocked out the power for the entire town, which I haven't seen in a very long time.
Yeah, we even lost power here, and we never lose power here.
Yeah, we lost power at my house too.
Mm-hmm.
We never lose power there, so it's very odd. And 2020, it's getting crazier and crazier.
Well, and for the people who are watching on YouTube, I am wearing this hat because I really do feel my hat says we're living in the upside down.
Oh my!
I really feel.
Have
like
you seen those fucking pictures in Oregon where it's like Mars?
Oh, it's red.
It's red, and then
the one with the FedEx truck.
Yeah.
And it's not edited. Like that's actually.
No.
I've seen a ton of other pictures.
And then
I
they
know
have,
people who
and
live
then
in
someone
Oregon.
also posted the Blade Runner 2049 pic where they go in the town and it's completely red,
red,
and then
yeah.
a picture of Portland, and it's
the same.
the
thing.
exact same
Yeah.
thing. It's fucking. You can only laugh, but it's kind of frightening.
Well, it's
you can only
terrifying.
laugh because otherwise you cry.
You cry, yeah, because there are a lot of people. I mean, people have died a lot of people have died
Yes.
from this fire.
They're
lot of tragic
evacuating
stories.
places that I've never seen evacuated.
I know.
Cougar, Lincoln City.
Yeah, isn't that insane? In Lincoln City, did you see some of those pictures?
Yeah.
It's wild. Wild times, man.
Yeah, so whoever keeps going, 2020 can't get any worse.
Shut the hell
Shut
up.
the fuck up, guy.
Absolutely. You gotta
now.
quit.
Now you're killing people.
Yeah, right.
Now you're taking because there's got to be one last guy doing. Because I stopped doing it. When did I stopped
Probably
doing
the murder
it?
hornets.
Well, I stopped doing it after actually the giant explosion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so-
Beirut. Or
Yeah, so
wherever,
everyone's got a time of when
They
they
do. I think I stopped after the murder hornets. I think that was me.
Murder
'cause I was
hornets
like,
were
all right,
early on. Yeah,
They were pretty early on.
Yeah,
But
so
I said,
you
know
gotta
what?
you gotta
I
be behind
know.
this thing early
yeah,
on.
I did.
But yeah, I started right around the giant explosion of July. That was, I think.
Probably July or June.
Feels like 30 years ago.
Why not? And dude, we bring it up all the time, but
Not forget, this year started with the world's biggest fires in Australia.
they did burn down what? Almost a million acres.
Now those
square
Australians are
miles?
laughing at
I know.
us. They
Dude.
finally got the last laugh.
And to put things in perspective, Kobe died this year too.
Yeah. Thank God he was not alive to see the world burn down around him.
dude,
And
just
in L.A.
crazy.
too, he would have been
In
there.
LA, yeah.
He would have been there.
During the virus.
No,
and
I
everything.
have a feeling if Kobe was alive, none of this would have happened.
No, he would have saved us.
Well, I don't know about that, but I just feel like the world would be on a better path.
Yeah.
Somehow,
some way.
Somehow,
we don't know why. Maybe another children's
spin a basketball
short
on his
story.
finger, and we would just forget the world's problems.
Yeah.
But it's not the case.
No, it's not.
Shit's burned down. We got to deal with it.
Yep.
But we can. At least what we can do is distract you for 20 to 30 minutes.
We can.
Because it is Foreign Film Friday.
Yes, it is.
Fire Foreign Film Friday. We could call it triple F because of what's going on outside.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, that would be
Maybe
quadruple
a little fire thing. Oh, yeah.
Fire Foreign Film
Quad
Friday.
F.
Quad F.
Yeah. Sure, we get a little fire animation going on.
Yeah, a little emoji and the title
Hell's
of
Kitchen,
this one.
Hell's Kitchen theme going on. It's not funny. People are losing their homes.
Yeah, they are. And lives.
Right. And not only that, but the people are telling us that a mass evacuation of animals could be coming into town.
Bears, cougars.
Just let them.
You know
let
that
them in your
right
garage.
Yeah. I know. People
They
are
say,
saying that.
dude, well, you can't kill them. I mean, it's unfortunate.
no,
I mean,
but
if,
I'm not gonna
if it's taking your
encourage a
kid
bear
away,
to-
then
yeah.
you might have. But it is sad, dude. Those fucking animals are scared shitless right
Well, and
now.
that was
dude.
again, same thing with Australia. I mean, think
Yeah.
about all the wildlife they had there. How many of those animals passed?
I know. One guy's got like he housed 1,000 different poisonous snakes.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, you could definitely. It's a little easier here, where it's sort of like save the spiders. Where it's like, but yeah, but still cougars and shit like that.
Right. Yeah, I'm not letting those into my home. I don't care what you say. I don't care if it's right or not. You're not coming.
Anyways,
not coming in
so enough of the fire talk. Let's talk about our Foreign Film Friday. It is an exciting one. You picked it this week, and I'm glad that you did pick it because it's a film that probably everyone knows about, but I haven't seen it in a while. I've seen it multiple times, but it's been a few years.
And after watching this film, I realized this is not the film I was thinking of. I've never seen this film.
That is
Wild, isn't
very
it?
funny and a little weird considering you picked this
I
film.
picked this film.
Do you know what film you were thinking of?
It has to do with like fantasy elements, and it was in the early 2000s.
Oh, but you don't know.
But
You
no,
don't know.
I don't know.
Fantasy in the early 2000s.
We started
There's
going.
quite a few.
I know exactly, and we started watching this, and I go, "Oh no, I haven't seen this film," because I was like, "I don't remember anything of this."
An amazing surprise.
It is.
That is amazing.
So this was my first time seeing Pan's Labyrinth.
Wow.
Yeah.
This just become a whole nother thing. So
And
I just want to get your take then. I there's not very many people that I go and that haven't seen it.
Well, I mean, I guess the number one thing that stood out was the fawn. To me, looked incredible for 2006. The practical effects, it looked.
Doug Jones,
we
who's
know
in-
Del Toro. He's incredible. He does this all the time with all of his films, Hellboy and everything else. So
All practical. We love him. Yeah, and this film, every time I watch it, it's one of those films that when I watch it, it always feels like I'm watching it for the first time. Yeah. And it makes me re-fall in love with Del Toro every time. But yeah, the practical effects. So little CGI used, but the practical effects. And the actors using, I mean, Doug Jones, who was Abe Sapien and Hellboy, and he's been in, I think, every Del Toro
film.
Shape of Water.
Yep. He played the green monster.
He plays the fawn and he plays the pale man in this. But what he does, he's a contortionist, but what he does with his body, dude, it's insane.
It is.
If you look at the guy's like 6'4", 130 pounds.
Yep.
But what he does, I mean, that pale man costume, and it took 12 hours for the makeup for the fawn.
Every time to shoot that. Could you imagine? So you walk on set. Or not even walk on set yet, but you walk on location. You're sitting in a makeup chair for 12 hours,
Yes.
and then you got to go and shoot for what, another 6?
Yes, and
to
then
8 probably.
the horns itself weighed 10 pounds, so they had to put that on last.
Wow.
But yeah, he said it was pretty comfortable though, because the legs, because what they did, because the legs obviously are inverted like a horse's, but it looks amazing. I mean,
does.
it's like not mechanical, but they CGI'd out his legs. So the costume was made easy to walk in and stuff like that.
Oh, that makes it nice.
But it looks fantastic.
Yeah, it
and he
does.
looks like he's like 7 feet tall. The fawn is huge. But yeah, it's one of my favorites. And we got to talk about it, but it has the longest standing ovation at Cannes, 22 minutes.
Pretty impressive.
We talk about that all the time.
we do.
But this is a film that I think at watching it for the first time and being in an audience like that, I'd get up and definitely stand for sure.
Well,
especially with Del Toro probably being in the back.
Right by it. You're like,
for sure. This is I love this film, and I forget how much I love it every time I rewatch it. But I just love it. I love how it ends and how it ties together. And I love all the fantasy elements. Very scary.
It is scary.
People don't expect that either. Yeah,
that threw me for a loop a few times. I mean, one in particular, like the ferry scene when they're like trying to warn her, and then the pale man just bites their heads off, and I'm like, wow, this is gruesome. Or the captain. This guy was a piece of work.
One of the most effective villains in cinema history, in my opinion. He is so scary and just so miserable, but so complex too.
He is.
Very complex, but he's the worst guy in the world. Yeah. He is horrible. You really hate him. You hate him.
And it summed it up perfectly in one scene that stands out to me in this film that I will always stand out to me. Obviously, the fantasy elements were great, and it's something that I appreciated a lot. But as far as the captain and really understanding who this guy was when the two farmers got caught for hunting a rabbit.
Captain Vidal. I knew you were going to bring this part up.
Well, and they're just saying, hey, this is not red propaganda. This is like, we're just hunters. My wife, my daughter, they are sick. We're trying to hunt for them. And they just kind of scurry through the bag a little bit.
So it takes place, let's back up. It takes place in Spain during the Spanish Civil War in the 40s.
Yeah, 1944,
so right now,
during World War II.
Right now, Francisco Franco is the dictator that's taking over Spain. So, and that's who Captain Vidal works for. And a lot of people don't know, but Spain was ruled by a fascist dictatorship until the mid-70s.
Wow.
Crazy. And by this guy, by Francisco Franco. So this is where that takes place. It takes place somewhere in Spain, and that's where Captain Vidal, and then his daughter is... Ophelia, and then his wife is Ophelia's mom, and they have a kid together. But Captain Vidal is taking over this territory where there's still rebels left, and the Reds, I guess, are communist. I'm guessing that.
Yeah, I'm assuming. Yeah.
So they find these guys going and hunting for rabbits, and then go on. What happens?
Well, it was wild to me because they start kind of scurrying through the bag, asking him questions, and then Captain Vidal just had enough. Smashes the kid with the bottle.
Kid keeps talking.
Of wine. Smashes his nose, and you see his nose literally breaking. I mean, he's caving his face in. It does not shy away from the gore at all. And the father's like, "You son of a bitch! You killed him for no reason."
The guy's not dead though.
He's not dead. No, shoots a couple. He's definitely would have been dead. Yeah. Shoots a couple rounds in the father, and then, long story short, kills the son, and then finds the rabbit.
It's brutal, dude.
And realizes that, like, this was all for nothing. And he goes, why don't you search them better next time and not waste my time? Not even giving a fuck that he just killed 2 innocent people.
Oh, yeah.
But instead was like, why don't you make sure you not waste my time next time?
Yeah, it was more of a warning
for him,
and it was more of a warning to his men.
Right.
Like, don't.
Of his brutality.
Like, if you're going to make me do this, I'm going to come down here and kill 2 fucking peasants because of your guys' stupidity.
Yeah.
This is your punishment. Now, because it's the thing is now their life is not on his hands, but it's on the soldiers' hands that said that these guys might be. It was an old guy and a fucking kid.
And his kid.
But yeah, man, the
and it
violence.
Makes it even more sad,
most people
too.
would cut after 2 hits.
Not Del Toro. This was 9 or 10
crazy,
hits.
Yeah.
It was one of the more, I mean, believe it or not, like one of the more brutal scenes I've seen in a while. Yeah, I don't know why, but I think just the idea of caving someone's face in is just gruesome, especially with a bottle too. And of course, what was fucked about the whole thing is he took the bottle and then he took the rabbits and cooked them anyway. Like, just, again, no regard for these people whatsoever.
I forgot about that, yeah. Well, we talk about it all the time, but that's just establishing early on. You got to establish how bad that fucking guy is and just show. And then slowly kind of unfold the layers or take the layers away and kind of see what characters. But it establishes early on that guy is a fucking prick. And that him and Ophelia don't have a great relationship. Well, no one's got a great relationship with this guy. Everyone is scared shitless around this guy. He's like a little mini Hitler.
Yeah.
He's very sadistic. The torture scene when they bring one of the rebels in or whatever is fucking. And the practical effect of the hand blows my
my
mind. Every
God.
time I see it, I forget how good that
The
looks.
bones like split from the
it's
hand. And
moving.
you're
It's
like,
moving a little bit, just slightly. When you could tell when he's like moving his muscle that it moves, but it's split all the way down.
And
And the guy's just there.
Kill me, please, doctor, please. He's like, here's a shot, pal. I mean,
Yeah.
I would too.
Oh,
You know,
fuck yeah. But I love we haven't talked about much the fantasy elements, but I love the mix of the fantasy and the real world. Just the two, not just the atmosphere and the sets and everything, but just the storyline. I love the storyline of Mercedes the maid.
Yep.
And that she was helping the rebels, and her brother was a rebel and whatnot, and
also
the
dating,
doctor also,
Yep.
who was helping them as well, who were just stuck in this crazy situation and trying to make the best for their people or whatever.
Captain Vidal was smart too, man. He would put two and
He's
two together
genius.
really
Oh, yeah.
easily. Like with small little details, like with the lock on the door. Most people would never even think about that, but he noticed that it was unlocked. And then the vial of antibiotico.
Yes, antibiotico. Yes. Yeah, exactly. He knew that was the exact same bottle that he was in. He did fuck up, though, but a poetic justice for sure, killing the doctor and then the mom immediately needing a doctor. Yeah, a doctor. As soon as she shot him, it's very... The entire film is very... very poetic, but just beautifully shot, though. All the sets look so fucking good. I love the scene when she goes into the tree and sees the frog.
I know.
The practical effect of the frog looks
the big giant
so
frog
good,
and all the
man. It's so
bugs
creepy,
and stuff
too.
and the mud. And
the fucking toad, like, becoming, like, inside out, like, puking up his
intestines to give her the key, which is one of the three tasks that she had to complete.
Yeah, it's very fantastical and stuff like that, almost Alice in Wonderland-esque, but it blends those elements of like Alice in Wonderland mixed with, the 40s and the horrors of World War II and whatnot. That's what I love about it. And the war scenes are just as good as the fantasy scenes. You don't want to see because you want to see just Del Toro do more of this, but you almost want to see him do a straight-up war movie. It would be scarring.
Well, I think
It'd be so violent.
Yeah, and I think he would do best in places like where stories have not been told a lot. So like places like Spain. Because a lot of like war films probably haven't taken place, with like fascist regimes and communist regimes. Like I think doing just a straight up war film and that would be an interesting take.
You have to see his first film in this series. That's called it's called The Devil's Backbone, which is set. It's supposed to be set in the same world and precursor to this. It's set in the 30s in Spain.
Oh, okay.
But it's a war movie, but it also blends fantasy elements. But it's a very dark war movie. That's basically exactly what you're describing. But yeah, it's early on. It was like his second film. But yeah, I love the fact that this entire thing is in Spanish. I think it adds so much more to the story and to the fantasy element too. When this big fawn is yelling in deep kind of old school Spanish too with the words he's using, it's fucking awesome.
It is.
And Del Toro he missed out. He got half the budget for this film because it was in Spanish.
Of course.
Yeah,
because people just
they didn't want to market.
Americans just can't read
So
subtitles.
they gave him
for whatever
half the
reason.
budget and let him shoot whatever he wanted, but he got half the He gave up his salary and all points he made on this.
Wow.
Yeah, he's never made a cent on this film.
That's sad in a lot of ways. I mean, it's beautiful, but it's also kind of sad because he deserves.
Well, it's horrible but it just goes that Hollywood does not want good directors making films. They want profitable directors making films.
Yep.
That's why my favorite director, John Carpenter, is retired now because he made amazing films, but they weren't marketed right, and because the studio never wanted to get fully behind it.
Yeah.
And that's how we always get directors that retire, and then we get these shitty fucking Michael Bay clones.
Oh God, yeah.
So it's
Or
just
Fast and
it's
Furious
crazy, yeah. But he had to
franchises.
give up all his money for this, but he to the day says, of course, he doesn't regret it because obviously it kind of put him on the map.
Yeah.
As far as being a well-established, because before this, the most mainstream thing he did, I think, was Blade 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, which was great. I love the Blade films.
Yeah, Blade 2 was better than Blade 1, in my opinion. I like the second Blade, but the Blade 3, it's no bueno.
When was Hellboy? Hellboy was 2004, wasn't it? 2003?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hellboy was early on too. And watching this film just makes me so upset we'll never get that third Hellboy.
I know, we'll never get that. I know, that's what we wanted.
Guillermo in this with the fantasy elements, with the trolls, it's his world, man. He is so perfect. You could tell everything is just so detailed and so thought out with how the fawn looks and how the pale man looks and how the world looks. You know, like how the pale man, how his place that he lived looked, you know, the big long table and how Sal had pictures.
And that was something that they did
the story.
so well, is they showed the pale man's mythology, I guess is what you want to call it.
Yeah,
through the murals on the wall
and it's
or on the ceilings, and it's horrific. He's a child killer. That's literally what he does.
Exactly,
he slays children,
and he's someone that like you would tell your kids about, like a warning or something, like a greedy story or something like that. Not to be greedy. That was kind of, all these things kind of had that element.
Well, in the Fawn had warned Ophelia. He tells her, hey, do not eat anything. Do not consume water or drink or eat anything while going down there to retrieve the dagger.
A fucking full spread.
It's a feast.
It's looking good, man. It is looking good. And she picks two little... I would have taken at least a chicken wing.
Right, of course.
Or a leg.
Something, guys. Especially, you're probably not getting the best food in a fascist regime, 1944 setting. So
exactly. Well, but the thing is that she was the leader's daughter. So she wasn't starving, but she wasn't, because people have talked about that before, but she didn't eat the entire day before because she was in like the going through the family with the frog thing.
And didn't her mom say she wasn't getting supper because she was gone?
Exactly, yeah. So she'd had to eat an entire day, and she's an 11-year-old girl. But I've seen people thinking that's a plot hole, that she would go and do that, eat the grapes.
No, because they set it up with and that's something I remembered. Like we had no idea we were going to talk about that, but I remember specifically the mother said she was not going to get supper that day.
And
so
she's an 11-year-old girl, and a fucking magic fawn told her not to
do something.
How serious is she taking this?
Yes.
And to be fair, the guy looks scary, but he didn't look as scary as he was when he's in full motion.
And again, credit to the guy playing this pale man, because just the way he's able to maneuver.
Doug Jones. We gotta keep
Jones,
talking about his name. Yeah, we gotta bring his name.
Just the way he was able to. I don't know. It was just creepy. The eyes and the hands.
That eyes when he kind of like realizes what way he's going, and then his eyes move first, and his body kind of follows behind him. Yeah, and with putting the eyes on, and then doing the full spread, making it look like he had like big long eyelashes or something.
Yeah,
it's
there's something
so
like
horrifying.
It's horrifying, and then it just adds that fantasy element even more of like this Elseworlds underworld type of place where this is how
or kind of nothing makes sense. It's high strangeness.
Exactly.
But I love it. And one of my favorite pieces of trivia is at Cannes, Guillermo was sitting next to, you like this, Stephen King. He said during that scene, he could see Stephen King squirming during the Pale Man scene.
Really?
Yeah, he said that.
I wonder if Stephen King ever made a statement on this film.
Oh, I'm sure he did.
Yeah, he probably
I'm sure he said
had
that.
to.
But Guillermo del Toro said that was like winning an Oscar. Seeing Stephen King squirm at being creeped out of one of his scenes. That scene is so scary. I can imagine watching it for the first time. So fucking tense when you think she's going to get caught. Mm-hmm. And the stupid chalk door that she's got to get out and draw. It's fucking tense, dude. But yeah, I love it. I love the Pale Man. One of these days, I'll go as the Pale Man for Halloween, and I'll just
there you go.
I'll go on a diet, lose 140 pounds. Just
be pretty hard to do that.
Distort my body, shave my head. Yeah.
You'll have to do it on
it's
October
so gross.
30th.
The folds and layers. He looks old but young somehow. It's horrifying.
It is.
It's horrifying, but
I
love it. I love it, man.
And it's very hard to add like a story that makes sense when you're talking about this war period, this war-torn period, and then also adding in the fantasy elements with Ophelia and trying to like complete these 3 tasks while also having her mother pass away. And that's something I like too, is they were able to kind of intertwine the 2 worlds. Like with Ophelia and her mother, obviously could potentially have a miscarriage. She was bleeding a lot. And then the fawn comes and helps her, gives her this weird...
The mandrake.
Mandrake thing.
I love that little weird... That's a practical effect as well.
Exactly.
And that's something that would have been so easy to CGI. Mm-hmm. But that's also a practical effect too. Yeah, the little baby mandrake.
And then, like, as it goes on, the captain, finds it, throws it in the fire, and then of course that's when the mother has another attack. So it's like, I don't know. They intertwined it so well. I think that's really hard to do.
Yeah, it's a perfect. It would be super easy for a film like this to feel like you're missing out on one part or the other. You know, not getting enough of the fantasy element, or then not getting enough of the war element. But somehow it's that perfect mix to where it's like, right when you start feeling okay, I'm ready for a fantasy scene or something again, you get right back into it. Yep. It's just the editing and timing is so perfect in this film, and the pacing. The pacing is just, from the very beginning, from the very end, it is well paced. You know, the beats are there, and it's just one thing after another. You'll get to a fantasy scene, and then it'll be fucking tense, and you kind of have to have a cool down, and then you'll be coming down, and then you'll have fucking Captain Vidal do some evil shit, and you're like, oh fuck, now I need a fantasy scene to take me out of that.
We got to talk about this though. Mercedes, kill the man.
I know.
Kill the man.
She probably thought he was going to die.
God, dude, that was the biggest thing. Man, I'm taking that knife and I'm stabbing that dude 35 times
Trump
in the
underestimating Kim Jong-un, you can't underestimate this guy.
You can't.
Because to be honest, she gave him a Glasgow smile. Mm-hmm. She stabbed him multiple times.
She did.
You thinking this guy is going to bleed out. But
I'm not taking my chances, man.
He's that kind of mean to where it's just hate pumping his heart.
It is. Yeah, it's not even physics at all. It's just.
I know. I love that scene too, where she runs out and then finally the rebels get back up and they shoot all the people on the horses. And the horses go down hard. But
again, I brought that up literally when I was watching. I'm like, man, you gotta feel bad for those horses, those stun horses.
Well, somehow all the shooters managed not to shoot any of the horses though. Only the guys on top.
Pretty impressive.
They're animal lovers.
I know. I mean, think in real life how many horses back in the day probably died.
Oh, if I see a guy on a horse, it sucks, but I'm shooting the horse.
Right.
Such a bigger target.
It is a bigger target,
and that horse goes down. It's damn near the guy's dead.
Yeah. And if he's not, I'm just going to finish him off.
He'll be hurt. He'll be mortally wounded, at least broken legs. Yeah, you always go for the horse.
Always.
It's such neat, unfortunately. But and that's the last. I would struggle more. No damage shooting that horse than I would.
I know. Big I feel bad about this horsey, but nothing I can do here.
I'm sure there's guys who have like a number of recorded horse kills.
Oh, probably. Yeah,
remembered every.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember a single man I killed, but I killed 9 stallions in the war.
What's that one villain from? I think it's DC where he like marks every single time.
It's Zaz, Victor Zaz. Yeah.
There's a guy out there who does that for horses back in the day.
Just the horse lover.
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong goddamn war.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, especially with like the machine gun fire and when the horses are just running
across. How does a stray bullet not hit one of them?
It's brutal.
It is. I really, it's crazy that we're almost done with this podcast and I'm just bringing this up, but I love the scene. It's so simple. It was such a simple effect, but so cool. When the film opens with her laying and blood is coming out of her nose, but it goes in reverse. And the blood is like slowly coming back into her body.
And then it shows the awesome fucking throne room.
Yep.
And it looks so cool but you're not sure, is it all in her mind? You're really not sure.
Because she's still faintly alive. Yeah. So is this still her fantasy?
Is this heaven? I mean, is this what heaven looks? I mean, is this? Yeah. Was the fawn? You're really not sure about any of it.
Well, at the time, too, I thought the fawn was representing the devil when he needed to sacrifice with the dagger with her brother. And I was like, oh, this is getting a little dark.
It just relies on very old school fantasy stories. Like the fawn is like the trickster, is like the pan. That's always that kind of character, You can't trust him. He's not straight up evil.
No.
But he's mischievous, and he was but he did really yell at her.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Multiple times.
When he said, you will never come to the land, you will die with the human beings.
Yeah, but that was important to show that she wasn't willing to do all those things that she was, for one, willing to eat the food, but she was also willing not to give her brother up. Yep. And it also kind of represents that, even though it would have been easy to do all that shit, it's like the fucking, like the rebels in Spain or whatever. It's easy to, you know, throw down your arms and let this fascist, but they still fought. So I think that's what she was representing. But I love that final scene. And I love that scene where the Captain Vidal walks out of the maze and all the people are standing.
And then he goes, tell my son.
And she goes, no. She just
She goes,
cuts
you
him
won't
off.
even know his name.
Bam.
Right in the cheek, too. I like that.
But it's so... I've seen that scene multiple times, and every time I watch, you could see it's such a small scene, but it shoots it, and blood fills in his eyes. Just a small... But it's... And that's CGI, but that's the CGI you want. Those little tiny things just to add to a scene.
Well, and you shoot, you know, not to get too graphic, but I mean, if you were to shoot someone that close to the eye, your eye's going to swell up with blood.
I can only assume.
Well, you know.
I'm not a doctor, nor am I a killer, but I can only assume that's probably what's going to happen. But even then, even if it's not, 100% medical, it still adds to it. You know, it's still just brutal. And that's the thing about this film is there's funny is like in Mexico, I guess, because it's a Spanish-Mexican like joint production. But in Mexico, I guess it was kind of marketed as a like fantasy kid story. So a ton of people were bringing their kids to it. Yeah.
Which I could definitely see. Like,
I can
the lead is Ophelia, an 11-year-old girl.
I remember the trailer, specifically in my mind, it does not give off that it is a overly violent war movie. It definitely shows more of the fantasy
how terrifying
elements.
For like a 10-year-old kid to go and then see fairies getting their heads ripped off.
The first half an hour you've seen a guy get beat with a bottle to death.
Fucking
You're like, is this the right movie? Like we haven't seen a fantasy element yet. I don't know if we're in the right film.
Oh my God!
But yeah, I would love it. It's a film that would scar you for sure.
Absolutely, as a kid, yeah. If you weren't prepared for this,
I could see watching this being like 9 or 10 and really loving this film. It'd be the kind of film that I would really enjoy even as a young kid because of those fantasy elements, plus the war, and I like that kind of brutalness too. But yeah, would you recommend Pan's Labyrinth?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was a great film overall. Like I enjoyed it.
It best foreign film,
of course.
Also was I think one best original screenplay. Was nominated or was not nominated for best picture that year.
I wonder what was 2006.
It was a lot of shit, but I almost feel like if you're nominated for best original screenplay, and best foreign film. You almost have to be nominated for Best Picture,
you would
right?
think, right? But not always the case. They never make much sense. The budget for this was $19 million, $83.9 million at the box office.
I can't believe it was made for $19 million. Yeah. Looks incredible, dude.
It does. It absolutely does. But yeah, I would highly recommend this.
If you haven't seen it yet.
It's an original piece of work, too. Like, it's something that I've never seen before. And I don't know if we'll ever see again, anything like close to this. Like, it was definitely its own unique thing.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a 3-part trilogy, but there's no, Devil's Backbone being the first one in this. They're all, like, supposed to be in the same world or whatever. But, there's no inkling or any evidence that he's working on a third just because of how busy he is.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
I think we're still getting Pinocchio. Imagine how fucked up Pinocchio's going to be.
Yeah. But that is one you could do real dark.
Exactly.
You could have a lot of fun with that.
But after you see this, you feel like, oh my God, dude.
Pinocchio's coming to Netflix in 2021.
Yeah, that's gonna be fucked up.
Yes.
How Pinocchio's gonna look, I can imagine he's gonna be horrifying. Half wooden boy creature. It's gonna be scary. All right, well, that's all we got on Pan's Labyrinth. I would also recommend it if you haven't seen it. It's one of my favorite films.
Absolutely.
And if you don't know anything about Guillermo del Toro and you want to jump in,
this is a good one to start.
Absolutely. And if you only seen Hellboy, then you can kind of go deeper into his older stuff. All right.
Alrighty, well, that is our review for Pan's Labyrinth. If you guys like what you're seeing here and you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to like this video, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification as we drop videos here every single day. If you want to find our podcast in audio format, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. Social media pages, Twitter, Seen It Podcast. Cash is on Twitter, that's just Cash. Instagram, Have You Seen It? Facebook, Have You Seen It Podcast. My name is Mason Knight. That is Cash Kraus. And until next time.
Bye.